We are live for another episode of Deep Dive, and I am excited to bring you back in. We are going to be talking about all things AEW Women's Division, as I believe that as wrestling fans, we should be able to make sure that we're separating certain things from our love of the men and women that put their lives on the line to give us some great wrestling, and AEW's women's division is no different. So I'm very excited to talk about this division in detail and the women that make it great. Stay tuned.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive. I am very happy to be back to, get more in depth about some more things surrounding women's wrestling. And this week, after everything that's been going on with us just getting off of that high as wrestling fans after WrestleMania 40 and just all of the wrestling that happened during that week from many different promotions, there were some things that completely resonated with us as fans. And there were some things that just didn't make any sense and did not resonate with us at all, especially surrounding AEW. So I wanted to make sure, especially when I, as a wrestling fan, of course, saw every comment possible about what was happening during that time, wanted to make sure that with this appreciation that we've been seeing going on over this past week, when people have been talking about things that they've really been enjoying lately with wrestling, that I kind of took it back to that and reeled it in for AEW, and specifically wanted to show that respect and admiration for a lot of people in the company, that especially the wrestlers, that really make sure that they put on a great product. And I wanted to make sure that I kind of spotlighted that, because even though we have seen a lot of, without us even wanting it in many ways, what's going on behind the scenes in some cases, there are some great things happening on screen on AEW for specifically the women's division that I wanted to point out today. And I think that they have so much talent that is just straight up top tier level talent. And I really wanted to highlight that. Since the beginning of this year, I've been very impressed with certain things that I've been seeing that have been building up for the women's division in AEW, and where I'm hoping that, they're going with it. And I really think that a lot of potential feuds and storylines that I've been seeing have really captivated me and made me feel like there might be a push for really making sure that AEW's women's division is being held at a certain level. So I wanted to make sure with this episode that I really highlighted that, and no pun intended, take a deep dive into the women that are making this division, honestly, something that I've been enjoying every week to see. So I just want to hop into it and kind of start off bit by bit with the women that have been really adding something to AEW's TV time, and take it step by step. With starting off, you have to start off with the AEW World Women's Champion, and that is Toni Storm. I think even over, getting to the end of 2023, I brought up like certain moments and things that I absolutely loved that Toni Storm was doing over the past few months. But I think that when we really got into the swing of 2024, Toni just continued to add more to why we love this innovation with this timeless Toni Storm character. And Toni is currently the AEW Women's World Champion, and she has had one of the best character development arcs in wrestling in general, but especially for this women's division, in my opinion. Not only has she had a complete transformation with this timeless Toni Storm arc, but she has had the crowd eating out of her hands, but then also decided to take Mariah May under her wing and really create like this smooth transition for Mariah May to become familiar with the AEW fans, and it has successfully come into play. And I love how I've been seeing over the past few months Tony's feud with Deonna Purrazzo, as Deonna was brought in and she needed that strong competition too. I love that they made sure that they took that time to make that connection with Tony and Deonna Purrazzo. And I love that we're still kind of seeing that storyline with Deonna and Tony play out. I like that they built that storyline off of the fact that Deonna and Tony had a personal relationship before, and they were so close at one point that they even have matching tattoos that reflect that time when everything was okay. But just like Deonna pointed out, Tony changed, and with Deonna's passions to have that title, she had to put away that past friendship and really try to go for that championship. And even though Deonna was not successful in her last effort to win the title, you can tell that this feud is not done yet, and they will cross paths again. Tony also has had Thunder Rosa on her back, which I think is another strong competitor to really play off of Tony at this time. And Thunder Rosa is fervently coming for that title at the Dynasty pay-per-view that we have coming up this Sunday. But it's so cool that even with this wacky character that Tony has, she still makes sure that she is 10 steps ahead of anyone that challenges for that title. So you see that many things that Tony may be doing is totally to get into the head of her competitors while she is still on point with making sure that she has kept that title for the time that she has. So not only the ring work, but Tony's promos, her vignettes, her famous media scrum shenanigans, and even her butler brings so much to AEW's programming that you really can't help but to be in awe of everything that Tony is bringing to the table for AEW. And I can't see at this time, even with the great women that are part of this promotion, who would be better to hold that title because of what Tony is doing for it. So I just had to make sure that we started off this episode right and strong by talking about Toni Storm and this amazing not only story arc, character build, but also how important I think her title reign, has been so far, really getting into 2024. So respect to Toni Storm. Now we move from one champion to another, and that's Julia Hart. Now I know that some people have felt maybe over the past few months that after Julia Hart won the Women's TBS Championship, that they haven't seen a full-on feud that Julia has really gotten behind after she won the title. But she is another one that completely revamped herself and then really took her time to show the long-term creation of this new Julia Hart as she's attached to House of Black. And I think that they did a really good job of that. And with this TBS Women's Championship, I will say that over the past month, I like that they've started, and I believe so, start to really make sure that they've had a great opponent for Julia to really sink her teeth in, and that can really be in opposition of her, and that being Willow Nightingale. I think that these women have great chemistry with each other. They really play off each other well, and Julia is really the polar opposite in this iteration of her character of Willow Nightingale, and it just plays so well. And I think that not only would that make Julia look really strong as a champion, but it also continues to show how much of a baby face Willow is. And it just helps to push that. So I like recently that I've been seeing that Julia Hart has also been having the open house matches with women like Layla Hirsch. Like she had a match with her on the last episode of Rampage, and with Robin Renegade last month. So I like these challenges that she's been having because it's been proving that she's a fighting champion and that she actually encourages challengers to come along and try to take that title. So it really helps to play into that very competitive, aggressive nature that the House of Black has. So I think that that was another smart move for AEW to do, with how they're showcasing Julia as the TBS champion, where it's really setting the tone that with every step of her title reign, she's always open to challenges because she feels that confident as a champion. And I'm going to be honest, I'm really looking forward to, is probably not the most, Julia and Willow Nightingale's match at AEW Dynasty pay-per-view the most, because I really feel like they're going to bring it in this match. Just like I said, I love the chemistry that they have together. So I think going into like the second half of May, if of 2024, the second half of 2024, if Julia keeps the title after this Sunday, I can see her starting to have a bit more of a stronger championship reign, as I feel like she's getting more into a groove of how she wants this reign to be and how she wants to be showcased. So certainly someone that I was rooting for to actually win the title, because I loved seeing this slow burn and a lot of thought put into her character. And now she holds the title and she has the target on her back, and she's been accepting that. So she's definitely someone that I'm going to continue to root for, because I can definitely see a strong thought that comes into how she shows off her character. So definitely deserving of the title. And we're going to move on to one of the biggest acquisitions that AEW has had thus far, whether it's male or female, is Mercedes Moné. I love how I'm seeing, and maybe this is me, but I think they're kind of making it obvious in a good way. This beautiful slow burn of Mercedes clearly showing that there is some deep-seated tension with her and Willow Nightingale. And this is, of course, due to Mercedes still being bitter that their match at the New Japan Strong Women's Tournament left her injured, and that she had to see Willow Nightingale have that moment in the sun and win the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. She really comes in, Mercedes, with lightly flowering Willow Nightingale with all of these compliments and talking about what a strong competitor she is. But she made sure, since the moment that she came into AEW, that she had to remind Willow that she was the one that injured her. She's the one that took her out and stopped that great run that she was having around the world. And she did not forget that. And I was so happy when we started hearing the rumors about Mercedes coming into AEW that they immediately cashed in on bringing that up, because they really would have missed the mark if they did not bring up the fact that even in real life, how much Mercedes has, respect for Willow and really enjoyed her time in the ring with her, that there has to be a feeling that she feels a bit of resentment that her amazing time coming back to wrestling and getting such a huge push and really having the pick of the litter of where she could go and what she could do was halted, and that she could not have that dream of holding that New Japan Women's Strong Championship. They have to play on this, and I love that they immediately pushed on that. But then they immediately turn it into Willow and Mercedes having a match initially when she got there. I like that she's making very clear that she's watching Willow. She's watching her and still trying to set the seeds into Willow's head that she wants to come for her. And I just love it, because Mercedes is very much like a cat. The way that she attacks things, she's always watching for love. She'll let you know, she'll kind of allow you to feel that you might have a chance to get away her grasp, but she's watching you. She's watching everything that you do, and she's taking that in. So I am looking forward to see if they are really going to hit the mark with building up a really nice storyline and feud to this, because it could be really good. It really could be something great. And we know that anywhere Mercedes goes, she's going to make it clear that she is the CEO of not only the women's division, but AEW as a whole. So this is no different with her being AEW, that she is going to have that bravado and really set it home that she is on top of everything. I love that they're really pushing on that. So it's definitely going to ruffle feathers. There are women that have been in AEW that kind of feel like they just finally started getting the spotlight, and Mercedes is coming in and making it clear that is her time, that is her division. So that is really going to cause Mercedes to get some enemies, and we kind of already see an example of that where Mercedes was attacked. We don't know as of yet who it was that did it, but I'm really hoping with that too that they really, really hit the mark with making sure that whoever attacked Mercedes is someone that they can really build a great storyline off of and really have something good there. But we're rooting for Mercedes. I think that there's a lot that they can do, especially with this interpromotional era that we see with AEW. We have Stardom coming in. We have all these different things going on. They have the Forbidden Door. So there's a lot that they can do at Mercedes. And I hope, and this was more of my thing, because I know people wanted to immediately see Mercedes competing with some people. I like how it seems like they're kind of having Mercedes kind of fill out AEW and see where she wants to go and what she wants to do, so that everything makes sense and that everything that she does is for a reason. So I'm hoping that that would be the case for Mercedes, but I think that they can have something good there. And I think that can possibly start off with Mercedes having a meaningful feud with Willow Nightingale. So now we move on to a former AEW Women's World Champion, Thunder Rosa, who has had, to me, one of the best returns of 2024 after 2 years from being on the outs with the injury. She has had such an amazing return. It feels like she has not been gone at all. She is currently ranked number 1 in the women's division, and she is set to challenge the AEW Women's Champion Toni Storm at Dynasty this Sunday. And since her comeback, Thunder Rosa has been handling business. She has been facing off against women like Queen Aminata, Anna Jay, and Mariah May. You see that passion that only Thunder Rosa can deliver. There's something about the passion that you see that comes from Thunder Rosa whenever she's around wrestling that really makes you want to root for her. There is a fire that comes out of her, and you can tell that possibly with seeing everything that has been happening in the women's division in AEW, that she was just really chopping at the bit to be a part of that again. And she has definitely made an impact with coming back. She has been at the top of the mountain in AEW, so she knows what she has to do to get back into that spot. And Thunder Rosa will always be a main eventer and show that wherever she goes, she will be a top draw. But there's just something that you can clearly see that she loves about being AEW, and she really does, in my opinion, set off this this feeling that she is AEW through and through with the way that she presents herself in the company, and it has been refreshing to see that kind of passion back. As we know that during the pandemic, Thunder Rosa really not only helped to keep the passion of the fans for AEW, but she also did that for NWA simultaneously as she was holding the NWA World Women's title, and then that transitioned to the fans almost absolutely demanding that she become the AEW World Women's Champion, and she held that title well. So she has all the tools to get back to that spot, but yes, there are many hurdles, one being Toni Storm, who is not going to want to let go of that title anytime soon. But I think that with that very passionate promo that Thunder Rosa delivered this past week, she is showing that she has no problem going to the lowest depths that she has to, really reaching in and getting that very aggressive side of her that she doesn't always want to let out, to take it to Toni Storm. So I am looking forward to that, and I feel like when I usually think of why I want to tune into AEW recently, a lot of it has had to do with Thunder Rosa being back. She really has been handling business. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Thunder Rosa. Hello, Eric. It's nice to see you in this, into this awesome deep dive episode. And if you guys, as you're watching, you're thinking about certain things that really have captured you about the AEW women's division, not just in 2024, but just in general, be sure to put those comments in. We have to go and talk about Willow Nightingale. I want to go on the rant because that's my girl, but she is so over with the fans, in my opinion, and one of the biggest baby faces, not just in the division, but in AEW in general. The pops that she gets, not just in AEW, but globally, is so organic and real that it makes you excited as a fan when you see that everyone is in unison with agreeing that she is a wrestler that you just can't help but to get behind. You just feel like you have to root for Willow Nightingale. And I've said this before, but I have to say it again. Willow really should have been, I don't know which AEW champion, but either one of them a long time ago, especially with the way that the fans really get behind her. I get the slow burn and really making fans want it, because I'm okay with that. I love a good story. I love a good build up to someone becoming a champion and showing the obstacles that they have had to overcome to get to that point. But I mean, come on, Willow's there, okay? She has proven that she is ready to hold an AEW championship, so I hope that that is coming up soon. Even with the Dynasty pay-per-view coming up, I would like to see if Willow can have that, but at the same time, there is this very evil part of me that would like to see Mercedes Moné interrupt that match and kind of take away that opportunity for Willow so that it could set up a feud for them that can go into full gear after the Dynasty pay-per-view. I just think that when I was able to see that brilliant match that Willow and Mercedes had in the New Japan Pro Wrestling event last year, that they just have amazing chemistry, and I would love to see that. So it's like, I want Willow to get the opportunity to hold the title, but I can see a feud with Willow and Mercedes being great. But that's not to say that she couldn't still win the title on Sunday, and it still builds off into a feud with her and Mercedes. But to me, Willow has all of the pieces there. She really brings amazing energy, comedic wit, while also still showing that grit and aggression in the ring, where she can immediately switch to bringing into a match whenever she feels like she has to turn it up. She's great on the mic. She really resonates with fans. So I would implore anyone, like if I was ever speaking to anyone, you have those conversations with people who aren't really wrestling fans as to why they should probably tune in. Willow Nightingale would definitely be one of the people that I would list because of her great in-ring work, but the way that she knows how to easily resonate with people, even if they're not huge wrestling fans. So even when I was thinking about doing this episode, Willow Nightingale was one of the women that immediately came to my mind when I was thinking about how to showcase and discuss what is good that's happening in AEW currently. And because I'm bringing up Willow Nightingale, I have to bring up someone that also has had great chemistry with Willow Nightingale in a tag team capacity, and that's Chris Statlander. We saw that a few months ago, kind of before we got into 2024, that Chris Statlander lost the AEW Women's TBS Championship. And for a minute, it seemed like she was trying to figure out what was next. And now we see that she has found her groove with being in a tag team at times with Willow Nightingale. These two really have great synergy with each other, and it has been refreshing to see. I think with this pairing, we've been able to really see Chris Statlander's personality come out more, especially with some of the more hilarious moments that we've seen backstage in interviews and the interaction between Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, and their manager, Stokely Hathaway. It has just been perfection. I really like all three of them together because immediately you probably wouldn't put that together, but it just worked out brilliantly. I'm really hoping that we can see more, even with Willow having her own solo ambitions, and Chris. It does feel good when they're together, and it really works out well when they do. They're a very strong tag team. Willow with her pure strength, Chris with her strength, but also how dominant she is with her height and knowing how to really bring in that strength when it counts. They just work well together. And I think that this has been, over the past few months, a nice shift for Chris Statlander, who many times seems like she's trying to find where she is in wrestling and how her character should be. I think that this has been a nice transition that she's had. So here's hopefully to see more of these two tag together. Now we move on to Sky Blue. Sky Blue is another one that was trying to find where she wanted to be with her character in 2023. And I think in this new year, she has really been finding what works for her, even aligning herself with Julia Hart. And I'm really impressed with Sky Blue's in-ring work. She is a tough competitor, and you wouldn't initially possibly think that, especially how when she first came in, she had more of like the skater, a chill vibe to her. But I believe that she has really been becoming more aggressive and showing what a strong competitor she is. And I think as these next few months go by, she's going to show how she's going to move a little bit further up the ladder in the women's division, because you can see that drive to do that. So she's someone that I definitely will keep my eye on, because I think that there's something there with Sky Blue. So then we move on to Mariah May, someone that I was very excited to see get the opportunity to come to AEW, because in my opinion, for this year, Mariah was one of the biggest acquisitions that I think AEW acquired because of what she can do long term for the women's division. If you have not checked her out when she was in Stardom, Mariah was a beast. She's definitely the definition of not letting her looks define what she can do, what people think she can do in the ring, because she can rip it in the ring. She is so tough and so competitive that I think she could really make a long-term impact. And I think it was a very smart choice for AEW to not sign her, but really get the ball rolling with her and put her in a sweet spot where she's really getting that TV time and getting a moment for fans to get to know her and really get behind her. And I think that her time under Toni Storm has been extremely entertaining. But when Mariah really starts to get into focus with her solo opportunities at AEW, I think that she is going to have some great matches. I really enjoyed when she had her match against Lady Frost. It really started to show the things that I enjoyed that she was doing in Stardom. So I'm really hoping that they're really just going to pull the trigger to show that type of zeal that that Mariah has in the ring. She is just awesome. So if you haven't checked out what she's done in Stardom, I really, really recommend that you do, so that it can really whet your palate to feel like you would want to see more of what Mariah can do in AEW, because I certainly think that that's coming up. I certainly think they're going to build that up. And even them bringing up during an interview with Toni Storm standing right there, that Mariah May might be next in line for a title to challenge for the AEW World Women's Championship. Tony's thinking it's great news because she feels that, pretty much Mariah will let her get the win. But I think there's going to be something that's going to switch off with Mariah, with her being that close to holding the title, that we might see a different outcome. So that's going to be very interesting in the future. And I'm really high on Mariah from what she really built for herself in Joshi Wrestling. I think that's going to translate well in AEW. So now we move on to one that I even had an entire deep dive episode about. I believe it was in February, so if you haven't checked that out, please do. I did an entire episode on the first month that Queen Aminata was in AEW and what she's already accomplished in that first month in January, what she did. And she's another one that made me immediately want to do this episode as well, because I think that Queen Aminata has been one of the biggest draws that we've seen in AEW and Ring of Honor since the start of 2024. And after her injury in 2023, Queen Aminata wanted to be an intricate part of the women's division in AEW, and she has truly met that goal. She has faced off against AEW World Women's Champion Toni Storm, former champs Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida, and others to prove that she is main event ready, and really has won over the entire AEW fan base, which is not always easy to do because fans can be very divisive on what type of wrestlers they like. But honestly, I haven't seen really anyone say that they weren't behind Queen Aminata's time in AEW recently. So that is a really good endorsement of why Queen Aminata is certainly one to watch. Just within, like I mentioned, her first month back, she had such great moments and matches that really drew you in, working double time in Ring of Honor and in AEW. The only reason why I'm not mentioning certain things for Ring of Honor is because I definitely think with Ring of Honor, the women deserve even their own spotlight because of what they've been doing there. But as we have seen, there's been a lot of talent that have been going in and out of Ring of Honor in AEW to really showcase what they were doing. But I love, and I think I mentioned this in the episode that I had for Queen Aminata, that I love that her time in Ring of Honor didn't take away from her having really great moments in AEW and really getting pushed to the forefront of the promotion, because I did not want that to happen where she was just kind of being brought in to have squash matches. That certainly did not happen in AEW. So kudos to them for seeing that Queen Aminata should be an intricate part of the women's division and really running with that. I think after not being able to win the Ring of Honor Women's TV title, you're going to see this passion come out even more so for her to have some AEW women's title gold. And I think it's going to be even more intense. And I think we kind of got a sample of that during the Battle of the Belts event, where you kind of saw this look on Queen Aminata's face that because of possibly what happened in her match at Supercard, that she is even more adamant about pushing herself to limits to get more opportunities in AEW. So I'm hoping that I read that right, with her mood when I saw her during the Battle of the Belts, when she came out to be a guard for Red Velvet and try to help her to not receive the beatdown that Athena was trying to give her again after that match. So we'll see what happens with Queen Aminata, but I think she's going to come back even more ferociously, and I think that she is a big part of why people were enjoying AEW so far in 2024. Now, for the next person that I'm going to bring up, this is someone that is so promising, I feel, to any promotion that she's in. But I must say, I have not been that crazy about how she's been presented. And that is Trisha Dora. Whether she's in Ring of Honor recently or AEW, I love that she has had the TV time and the consistency of being on both shows, Ring of Honor and AEW, but I feel that we really haven't seen her get the ability to have quality TV time with storylines or a feud that really feels like it's substantial, especially when we know that Trish Adora is capable of those things. We've seen a long-going losing streak, and I would not mind that if we start to see that visibly starts to irritate Trish Adora and that starts to move into a storyline. You can see that they're really pushing something there. But so far, I'm not seeing that. So I love seeing the phenomenal matches that Trish is having. She's getting a great time with amazing competitors. But I'm hoping that they go somewhere with the losing streak. So even though I'm making sure that I'm spotlighting Trish, I am hoping that AEW and Ring of Honor really starts to push something in where she has substantial parts of the shows, the weekly shows, and really make us look forward to seeing, is she involved in the storyline? Where is this going? And really start promoting her in that way, because I have not been seeing that much lately with Trish Adora. So I'm hoping that is to come. So now we move on to Hikaru Shida, who I feel is in a really good spot recently with what they've been doing with her. I think that as someone who has held the AEW World Women's Championship before, and in the past few months has really been doing a great job of building up other women that can be strong for the division, like Queen Aminata, and then even taking a trip to Ring of Honor to challenge Athena at Supercard of Honor. I think that this is actually a good time for Shida, because she has shown that clearly she has that experience and pedigree to be in those type of matches, but that she really wants to make sure that she has other strong competitors to really show off what she can do as well. And you can really see the fans have been getting behind that in the matches that she's been having. And I think that it's kind of helping to undo what kind of happened in her first run when AEW was, in its infant stages. It's still in its infant stages, by the way, but just kind of going back to 2019 and 2020, the American fans were still trying to figure out what they felt about Shida. So I feel that I like this run because a lot of American fans that may not have followed her in Japan during her time in Japan are really seeing over these past few years what's great about Shida in the ring, and they're really behind her. So it's really interesting and exciting that now you can feel that confidence that she has with the fans really being behind her, and she's really taking on some great competition. So I'm actually really excited to see how these next few months go for Shida, because I think that they're just going to let her continue to have some classics in the company. Both in, she might have some time again when she goes back to Ring of Honor. Who knows? She might like doing that. And you kind of see that with a lot of the women recently, where it seems like they've actually been getting a thrill of going, having time in Ring of Honor, then coming back maybe like a few days later and having separate like feuds or storylines in AEW. So it's actually a really exciting time for the women in AEW, with having that option of being able to utilize a Ring of Honor crowd in the way that the women are pushed in Ring of Honor to show what they can, do in AEW. So it's a very good time for women like Shida. So we go to me, another great acquisition that came out of this year, Deonna Purrazzo. Since she's debuted, Deonna has had eyes only for that women's World Championship. Along the way to the goal, she has faced off against women like Taya Valkyrie, Anna Jay, and Madison Rayne. Now, she can't challenge Toni for the title again this Sunday at Dynasty, so instead she has decided to take it to Tony Storm's clone, Mariah May, which I like. I can see something great happening in some matches between the two of them. But I like, as I mentioned before, this long-term game that we have between Deonna and Tony, where you know that they're going to cross paths again. We know that they're going to have amazing matches, but they're playing it well. They're letting Tony have moments where she is also competing with other people, while Deonna is constantly adding certain things to her arsenal when she gets that chance to face off against Toni Storm again. And we know that Deonna Purrazzo has held championships from around the world. So it's safe to say that Deonna should have some AEW gold on her sooner rather than later, and that they are making sure that they are really building Deonna to be a fixture within the AEW women's roster, so that when that time comes, when she is holding the Women's World Championship, we will really, really be excited for it because of the way that it played out. And I'm sure that that's going to come. But Deonna is one of the strongest competitors that the women's division has. So I'm really continuing to root for her to have a great run in the company. And she has so far, and I feel like it's just going to continue to build up. Now we move on to one that I feel Lady Frost deserves a really strong push because she is that good. She deserves to get more of a spotlight on any division that she's a part of because she really is insanely good in the ring and really magnetic as a competitor. Recently, her matches with Thunder Rosa, Mariah May, and Serena Deeb have been a big part of why I make sure that I always kind of stay locked into what the AEW Women's Division is doing. And I just have to say, AEW, please keep putting Lady Frost on my TV screen because she is killing it. I really think they can really push Lady Frost to the moon. So I'm hoping that they continue to capitalize on that. We're starting to see more and more TV time with Lady Frost. So I'm hoping that that continues because she's just so good. She gets it. She knows what draws the fans, and she really knows how to play to whatever her competitors thinks her strength is, and she will literally pick that apart. So I'm hoping to see more of Lady Frost in AEW. So we move on to someone else that I really feel stepped it up coming into 2024, and that is Red Velvet. She has been putting on classics since her return. I would say that AEW has really made sure that her declaration to be a main attraction on the roster coming into this year a reality. And I really appreciate AEW for doing that because I remember when Red Velvet did return, I was not sure as to what they were going to do with her, if they were just going to keep her possibly just like sporadically coming in, but they actually have been letting her just run with the ball and really have some great matches. We've seen a really aggressive side of Red Velvet in the ring. She really has this new proclaimed self-confidence that she knows that she belongs in the ring with some of the best in the world, and that she's no longer in the spot where she's just cheering on another women's champion. You can see that look in her eyes that there is so much focus, so much discipline towards being a strong competitor and a world women's champion soon. So I really love seeing this. And just like I said, with a lot of women that we've been seeing out of AEW recently, a lot of them really have been enjoying being able to go back and forth between AEW and Ring of Honor, and Red Velvet has really been taking those opportunities and making the best of it and being really entertaining on both brands. So that has been awesome. That cannot be easy, but she certainly has made it look like so. So I would say that recently Red Velvet has really been on my radar. She's just such a great competitor, great presence, and I hope that she really just keeps getting that push. Now, as I have taken this time to talk about the women separately and what they've been bringing to the table, it would be remiss of me to not bring up something that really excited me this week, especially just like I said, after the whole debacle that happened in AEW a week prior, which was the women's match that was a part of Battle of the Belts event on Saturday, this past Saturday. And I loved seeing this match between Athena and Red Velvet. I think that this helped to bring the attention back to what it should be, which is the strong competition and amazing matches that you can find in AEW. I love that Athena is slowly being reintroduced again to the AEW crowd, which I think is a great move because she has been the most dominant champion in Ring of Honor for over, I think it's safe to say, about over a year. So I like that she's being introduced again in AEW as this very strong champion that has so far has not had anyone that could take that belt off of her. And this was such a credible match between Athena and Red Velvet. Such a hard-hitting match that really showed off the strengths of Red Velvet and how she has been having phenomenal matches throughout this year, both just like I said, in Ring of Honor, AEW, you see Athena bring that sheer power and strength, even in a moment during the match where she was able to catch Red Velvet in the air as she attempted to do a splash off the top rope, which really captured the crowd. Athena bringing in that know-how that she always has, where she's calculating everything that's happening in the match to make sure that she stays on top. I love Billie Stark's presence around the ring during the match. That added something else too, that even with like Billie's ambitions that she has her own, she's still rooting on Athena. I like that. And then you saw that even though Red Velvet did not come out successful in this match, I think that it just took Red Velvet to another level, being able to stand toe-to-toe with such a dominant champion like Athena in this match. So if you have not seen that match, it should still be available in full on AEW's YouTube channel. I was able to watch it then, and I was blown away by this match. I just think that was a great choice to have such a strong match be shown this Saturday. And we also saw during this weekend that even though this was on Ring of Honor first, but I like how that's also being interwoven into AEW, where you're seeing a lot of Stardom talent being brought in. And we were able to see that during an amazing match between Toni Storm and Azumi. I really love this match too on Collision this past weekend. I loved that in the right way, and also women that have had experience in Joshi promotions like Toni Storm, that they're the ones that are having these matches with a lot of women from Stardom. So you see that chemistry there that these women have. And I will say, I definitely have to give credit where credit is due. AEW from its inception has made sure, and it has been very vocal in making sure that people knew how much they love Joshi wrestling and how they wanted to bring a lot of Joshi stars into AEW. And at first, it seemed like from a lot of American fans that they weren't that into it, but now Joshi is like a big thing for a lot of people in America. So now they're getting behind it. But AEW was here for that from the get-go. So I like how they're continuing that relationship with promotions like Stardom to have these dream matches that we're seeing. And I loved how strong this continued to make Toni look, especially as she's about to go into her match this week. For Dynasty, I loved how that made her look going into the match with Thunder Rosa, where you're seeing that Toni came out of this match against Azumi looking quite strong as a wrestler. And just like I said, Toni can have these moments where she seems absolutely wacky, but when she is in those matches, there's something that snaps, and she immediately knows that she has to get out of this match with a belt on her waist, and she certainly did that in this match with Azumi. We also saw Mina Sarakawa come out during Maria May's match and kind of have I don't know, like only a moment that they know that's why there need to be a kiss involved. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into the they'll kind of build on this appearance, especially because Mina was a tag team partner with Mariah when she was in Stardom. So it was nice to see that pairing and that celebration that they had again, because they're making, I like that AEW is making sure they're making those connections and not ignoring the past that Mariah's had in Stardom and building off into that. So hopefully something with some great storytelling can come from this sighting that we saw with Mina. And I hope these collaborations with Stardom are not wasted, because some of the best talent right now in women's wrestling happens to be in Stardom. And just like I said, the women's division in AEW is top tier. So when we see these collaborations, it can really bring off some very good matches. So I hope that this is just a sneak peek to that. We'll see. But so far, I've liked what I've seen over this past week with AEW. I feel like really starting to build up more of the women and really being smart in how they're showcasing other talent from around the world that can really add something to the division. So with everything that has been mentioned about the great things that have happened with AEW over this past year, I'm hoping that as we're going into this pay-per-view that AEW is having, which would be Dynasty this Sunday, that is the focus, and that is the focus of everyone in the back in AEW, because there is some great competition in the company. They have two very strong divisions that just constantly need that tender love and care and a lot of awareness on how to promote and market these wrestlers, because they are top tier and they deserve to be able to have that spotlight and have that recognition for what they are bringing to the table. So I'm actually excited about AEW Dynamite this week, because we will see, to me, two very strong matches, which would be a mixed tag match with Adam Copeland, Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart and Brody King. I think that would be a really strong match going into the pay-per-view, as well as Deonna Purrazzo versus Mariah May. I think that these are two matches that can really help to continue to put some spotlight on the women's division and feuds and storylines that are already going on that are really strong ones at that. So I'm looking forward to that. And we know for AEW Dynasty pay-per-view, we have a really solid AEW Women's World Championship match with Timeless Toni Storm against Thunder Rosa. I am really looking forward to this match. I think that they are just going to handle business. And we have Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale. Who knows what might happen in this match? If someone might intervene. I'm not trying to say anything, maybe Mercedes Moné, but we don't know. We'll see. But I think that these are two solid women's championship matches that we're going to get from this pay-per-view. And I really hope, especially with a lot of women and just a lot of fans of women's wrestling bringing this up lately, that we've seen over the past year about really pushing great storylines and giving a lot of women in the company more TV time. I feel like we're on the verge of seeing that happen and more attention being brought to the women's division, especially when you saw this acquisition of Mercedes Moné. I think that it probably opened the eyes of some people in AEW to know that this is what can happen when you really push women's wrestling, that there is a big following with just people in general being really engaged and really behind women in wrestling that have really been able to get the opportunities to become big stars and just globally. So I hope that helped to light the fire, because it certainly seems like with the type of action that we've been seeing from the women in AEW recently, that it is on fire and that they really want to give more opportunities. So I hope that I don't eat these words later and that this is actually true. But it was actually nice to kind of go back a little bit over the past few months and look at some amazing things that have been happening for the AEW women's division. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Deep Dive. I hope that you continue to stay tuned for more things that will be happening. And before I leave, I have to make sure that once again, I say, enjoy AEW Dynamite this week because they have some really solid women's matches, I think, and a mixed tag match that I think will be really exciting leading into the Dynasty pay-per-view. And make sure you watch the Dynasty pay-per-view to see if either the TBS Women's Championship or the Women's World Championship changes hands. Be sure to make sure that you're supporting, because at the end of the day, as wrestling fans, even when there's any controversy or backstage politics going on, these wrestlers putting their bodies through it to give us amazing matches is what really matters. So we want to make sure that we are first and foremost supporting these wrestlers for the amazing content that they give us on a weekly basis. So keep that in mind and make sure that you tune in to some action in AEW, because these wrestlers truly deserve it. So that's all I have for you guys today. I truly hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we'll come back for more. Until then, I'll see you soon.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.